Hi guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for the very first one of 2023. My 10-year anniversary is coming up in a few short days of being on YouTube, so that's pretty a decent accomplishment, you could probably say the least here. But we're here for UFC Fight Night 67, Sean Strickland against Nassourdine Imavov. Kelvin Gastelum was supposed to be in this spot, lost a tooth, looked like he had staph on his face. Strickland back-to-back main events after he was the last one of 2022. So, yeah, I'm here to just talk some of the fights here. And I have got a couple of bets on the card that I've laid down already. And there is a couple more that I like as well. So let's get into the card, guys. Like I say, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If everyone could please hit the thumbs up, it'd be massive for me. So please hit that thumbs up if you like it. So let's get into this card here. We're starting off down at the bottom. Priscilla Cachoeira, Sijara Eubanks, a low-level women's MMA to start off 2023. I'm seeing some tickets out there for Priscilla. I see her, she's right about plus 200. Eubanks, this is at flyweight. This is what kind of intrigues me, because I thought if this was at maybe a higher weight class, I think Sarge, especially if you don't have to cut so much weight, would definitely be someone that could look decent in this spot. But the fact she's back down at flyweight, she's kind of older for the division, 500 fighter in the UFC in her career, really. But I do think she has certain paths in this fight that she can absolutely get the fight to the ground and use her jiu-jitsu and use her strength and just her body positioning to maybe win large parts of kind of rounds there. But while it's on the feet, I think she's serviceable up there. But once she starts to fade, we've seen with Cachoeira that if you give her an opportunity to stay in a fight, she can fight hard into those 10 to 15 minute periods of the fight. My initial gut feeling when I was kind of watching this, I was like, I can see Eubanks getting some takedowns and maybe winning the first round, second round. But I think that Priscilla will definitely be live at some spot in this fight to potentially hurt Sijara Eubanks. But like I say, I want no kind of part of this betting wise. I'm not putting my money anywhere near this. As a pick wise, I think I'm going to lean Sijara Eubanks. I think she does enough in a pretty smelly decision. So Eubanks is the pick there. Charles Johnson against Jimmy Flick is up next. Jimmy Flick making his return after he retired, and kind of interesting that he's coming back, because I thought he was pretty much done, and there was a big kind of hoo-ha with the kind of line, how this opened up. It opened up quite close, and then it really skyrocketed on Johnson's side. It's starting to level out a bit where he's still plus 300. I would kind of line him. Let me see. What's Charles Johnson's odds? Oh yeah, so it's actually quite high. Yeah, that's actually pretty wild. Plus minus 310 for Charles Johnson, the best one you can get over here in the UK. I would probably put minus 225 in that spot. I like that. I like the fact that Jimmy Flick is super aggressive with his submissions, but you're looking at someone in Johnson who's very tough, fought some really decent guys outside the UFC, and then in the UFC he's coming out with Mokaevs. Zalgas, you can say what you like against him. He is serviceable. He's decent. He'll give you a scrap, and that's kind of what he does. Jimmy is always going to be live for a submission. There is points in Charles Johnson's run that he has been taken down, and he's a guy that will work his way back to his feet. So for me, it's Flick early with his submissions. If this fight goes on late, I think I actually like Charles Johnson inside the distance here. I think that he's got an opportunity in the later part of this fight to take him out. So my pick's going to be Charles Johnson there. I just I don't like the betting line on that one whatsoever, but I'll pick him for the win there. Dan Argueta against Nick Aguirre. This was supposed to be Isaac Dungarian, and I was actually thinking of playing Dungarian. I thought it was a really good style matchup for him, even though he's very early on in his career, and also not fought the best caliber opposition. It's pretty much what Aguirre is here. not that either guy's really fought a high caliber opposition, but what we've got on the Argueta side is at least he's fought a decent guy in Damon Jackson. He's got the UFC kind of jitters out of the way. He was on tough. So he's had experiences around the big show of the UFC. Aguirre, he's not been a pro an awful long time. He's really jumped between divisions. If you look at the weights that he fought at, he's not really cemented himself at 145 or 135, which I think he could probably get down to. And like I say, again, his caliber opposition isn't great. I think he is really, really fairly decent with his jiu-jitsu. I think if he was to have an opportunity to get that down there and maybe lock up some tight submissions, I think that he could give Argueta problems. But I think to me, Argueta, he kind of impressed me with how he kind of stayed at it against Damon Jackson, because Jackson is a tough guy to face. He's very determined, very dogged, and Argueta kind of really stayed in there, and he came in there very, very short notice as well. So as a pick, I'm going to go Dan Argueta. Like I say, I was going to fade him in his previous fight, but I think this is a better fight for him in this one here against the short notice Aguirre. Allan Nascimento against Carlos Hernandez, and this is going to be my first bet of the year that I've got money down on. And I'm actually taking a shot on Carlos Hernandez. It wasn't a fight I was really looking at, really at betting. I seen the line and I seen Nascimento was a heavy favourite, and I thought to myself, right, I can see why he's a heavy favourite. And I looked at it, I thought, right, he's got definitely the size in this fight. He's a big flyweight, and he will look to catch kicks, to get a hold of you, to get you to the ground and kind of hold you there a little bit. But and I think he will get that. I do think he will get takedowns here. But I like what I see from Hernandez. I like the way that he keeps himself back to his feet. I think on the feet, I think he's the more kind of the better striker in my opinion. He's had a couple of really good fights as well. I thought that one against Barres, you probably heard that mentioned quite a lot if you've watched some of these prediction videos. The fight with Barres was one of the better ones out there. Really, really solid fight. Lost a split there. Won a split there, sorry, and then won a split against Victor Altamirano in a fairly decent fight as well. So the way this fight is kind of going to go is Nascimento, I think, will have moments in this fight where he could be dominant. But I think if the longer this fight goes on, I think that if Hernandez can just work him, stop some of these takedowns and really unload him the feet, I think that he could catch Nascimento out. And at plus 300, I was like, right, I quite like that number. I think that number's a little bit off, in my opinion. So I'm going to take a shot. So it's just a 1 unit stab on Carlos Hernandez here for me. But like I say, Nascimento is a lot to like when you can look at him here. He's fought hard in his UFC tenure. Really good win over Jake Hadley, who's a guy that I know very well. Lost a close split to Gia, and then lost to Paiva on the Contender Series, which was another great fight, by the way. I fancied taking the shot on Hernandez. So plus 300, I'm in on him. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully he can stuff some takedowns. If he doesn't, it's going to be a long night for him. But I've got him to win in that one there. I've got Carlos Hernandez by decision there. Javid Basharat against Matheus Mendonca. I've been a big fan of Javid Basharat for a very, very long time. But I also like what I see from this Mendonca kid. I think that I don't think it's a great matchup for him initially coming to the UFC. I think that the matchmakers, I don't know where they're kind of looking at this one here. Maybe just build Basharat a little bit against a guy that potentially in the future could be very, very good. But I like what I see from Mendonca. Very aggressive, really good ground game. Will come forward, look to push you back and unload shots. Comes from that famed shooter box gym out of Brazil. But for me right now, this is just not the time for him. It's not the matchup. I think there's so many other guys they could have gave him to, but they give him to Javid Basharat, who I think is one of the true up-and-comers at bantamweight. I think he's got a really well-rounded game, solid game, long, like his precision with his striking. Not super dangerous in many, like for really taking you out with submissions or whatever that we haven't seen in the UFC. I mean, he got that one against Colon in the Dana White Contender Series where he really just beat that guy up and then finished him with a couple of seconds left or a minute left. Trevin Jones, good win. Tony Gravely, good win. Like I said, I just don't understand the kind of matchmaking here. I think that he's going to pick him apart at range. I think that he's going to counter Mendonca very well. I think that he can mix in takedowns, but he kind of has to be careful down there because I think Mendonca is I just think he's a very good fighter. He's a guy to keep an eye on with the right matchups. This is just not the greatest matchup for him to start. So I've got Javid Basharat. I kind of maybe like him for a late third round finish. If not, a decision is more than likely. I've made a parlay. Javid Basharat is leg one of that parlay, and I've got that kind of parlayed up with something at the end of the fight card there. But I like Javid to come out there and win that fight. Mateusz Rebecki against Nick Fiore. Like I say, he's another guy that's not fought the greatest caliber opposition. Looks like he's fairly decent on the ground. But again, Rebecki is a guy. Actually, I made a prediction, not a prediction video, like a video years ago saying that the UFC should sign this guy. I think he's a killer. I think he's going to be at 155. There's not going to be many guys signing up to face this guy because he's very heavy. He kind of spams the overhand a little bit, gets the takedowns, heavy ground and pound, can go to leg locks, ankle locks. He is very, very good. I mean, the betting line is massive in this one. He's like minus 600. Fiore, like I say, coming in here short notice. To me, the only chance he's really got is if he catches submission and Rebecki maybe gets a little bit careless, gets a little bit lackadaisical on the ground, gets caught, gets submitted. Could happen. Not that there's much there to get because there's no neck on this guy. He might catch. He's got a very, very short arm, small arms, so he's hard to kind of catch in any of that. I think Rebecki should roll here. I've got him kind of in the late part of second round into the third round here to take out Nick Fiore in that one there. So Rebecki for the dub. Claudio Ribeiro against Abdul, Razak, Alhassan, and I've had to really watch what I'm doing with this fight because I'm not the biggest fan of Alhassan, but I always seem to bet him, and recently it's not worked out well since he came back when he fought Punahele. I've kind of been on some bad beats, not bad beats, but just been on Razak Alhassan, and it's not been great. I think I was on him against Chaos Williams. Wouldn't surprise me if I was on him against Joaquin Buckley, which I thought he was a little bit unlucky with in that one there. But when I watch Claudio Ribeiro, not overly impressed, being honest with you. I think there's been some spots where he's been pushed against the cage. He's been taken down. I think he had a highlight reel knockout on the Dana White Contender Series. But when you watch his footage before that, I don't think it's overly great. But the guy's obviously, he swings big haymakers. He's got power. He's also against the guy that's got elite power in Razak Alhassan, at least for the first 5 minutes. If he goes later than that, then it does become a little bit of a problem for him. He does have the judo. You've seen that in the Buckley fight where he got the fight to the ground. He just kind of just lay on him though. So I was very close to actually betting Alhassan a couple of days ago when he was plus 100. The line's moved to minus 110 here in the UK. And I'm kind of happy with that because I think if he stayed at plus money, I think I would have been tempted by tomorrow, by Saturday afternoon, if he was at that plus number. I'm going to pick Alhassan, not super confident really, because I think these two are going to swing a little bit and either guy could get clipped. But I thought if you got plus money in the guy that you favour, I think that's the way to go. But I'll pick Alhassan. I'll pick him via knockout in the first, in that one there. Umar Nurmagomedov against Raoni Barcelos. Great fight. I think everyone's looking forward to seeing Umar back in there. This kid looks like a legit talent at 135. Could be a prospect to really come up and take that belt. We know with the Magomedovs, with Habib and Nurmagomedovs, I should say, Habib, and then there was Usman. It's over in Bellator. I mean, these guys are scary guys, like very, very serious. And he's got a step up here against Raoni Barcelos. And I've been thinking, right, this line, I don't know, I've not even looked at the line in the last 24 hours. Let me check it out. Plus 700 on Raoni Barcelos. That's a kind of crazy number. I thought he was coming off a great performance against Trevin Giles. I thought as good as he's ever looked, and especially coming off that loss to Victor Henry. But I mean, this is just. I mean, he wants to fight the kind of best guy. I just don't think it's the best kind of matchmaking for him in this spot. I think Umar, very hard to hit, very good with his takedowns. I think that he will get takedowns in this one here. I don't want to play like he's minus 700 here in the UK, and I know, but if you look at different books, you can get a minus 1,000. So, like I say, if you get in your minus 500s and you parlay them up, you've got the best of the line there, and you've got a decent chance of cashing that. Barcelos, I think, is always going to be dangerous. I just think he's going to be outclassed here. I think Umar is one of the legit guys coming through at 135. He's one of these guys that people are not going to want to face just with his overall skill set. So I'm going to pick Nurmagomedov. I think if you were to play a spot in this fight, I'm sure other people have said this, decision is the spot for that. But I'm going to pick Umar. As much as I would like to have a little shot on Raoni, I don't think I could possibly do it. I need to try and be a bit more selective there. So Umar for the win there. Ketlen Vieira against Raquel Pennington. Not watched a hell of a lot in these two. Didn't really want to. I have a feeling that it's going to be super close. I think it's a well matched fight right now. But like I say, Ketlen Vieira, I kind of went off her a little bit. I thought she was a prospect that going forward a couple of years ago, she was one that could fight for the belt. And I mean, she's not far away probably from fighting for the belt, but that Katzengano win where there was a split, that's when I was like, oh, I maybe need to watch what I'm doing. Then she lost, she got knocked out by Irene Aldana, came back against Sarge, lost to Yana Kunitskaya, and then she's came back and beat two former champions and Miesha Tate and Holly Holm. Where the Holly Holm one, I actually thought she lost that fight. But I also had money on Holly Holm in that fight. So maybe I'm just being a little bit biased there. I can see this being a slow push against the cage, very, very close and like significant strikes landed. I've seen some people that are super confident in Ketlen Vieira. It seems like Twitter seems to be all over Ketlen Vieira, and they have been for the past week. I think this is going to be close. I'm going to lean on the Pennington side via a split decision. I don't think there's going to be a hell of a lot between these two here. But like I said, I want no part of this fight money-wise. Just get me onto the co-main event. Other the last three fights, sorry. Punahele, Soriano against Roman Kopylov. I must admit I was impressed with Kopylov's finish in Paris. There was a fair contingent of Italians over there for Alessio Di Chirico, Vittori, and they were shouting and they were really going for it. And I thought that fight was really starting to turn into Di Chirico, where he was starting to kind of take over the fight in that second round. And I thought that he was going to come on strong in the third. But once Kopylov hurt him, the finishing sequence was absolutely beautiful. And I really, really, it was one of the finishes I really enjoyed with that card, was the Kopylov one. Low output, though. I don't like that too much. On the Puna side, he's obviously got big power, something you always have to watch out for. He's got the wrestling there if he needs it. I think that's something that he really should do here, is try and mix up a little bit, land some power shots, try and use a jab. He kind of just really relies on that power quite a lot. Do that, mix in takedowns, and then hopefully he can really keep Kopylov at bay. Because if he starts to land Kopylov and he starts to get his confidence together and he starts to maybe pick apart Puna a little bit, this could be really, really interesting. And like I say, I've never seen the amount of fights I've been to and the amount of fights I've watched. I've never seen a guy with a nose like Kopylov. It's literally in the middle of his head and it's just flat. He's been broken one too many times. I actually kind of like the Soriano side here, and I like that the line's kind of tightening up a little bit when it's coming down. And if it kind of gets much lower, like minus 138, I think I might be forced to jump in a little bit. So the pick is going to be Soriano for me in that one there. Dan Ige against Damon Jackson. The co-main event here. I really like Dan Ige in this spot. I'm seeing some confidence in Damon Jackson. But I just think Ige's fought the far tougher caliber fighters. I think he has got some dynamite in his hands. I think he can hurt you. I think it's a step down to what he's previously faced when you talk about your, Barboza, Josh Emmett, who's fighting for a belt next, Calvin Keita, Movsar Evloev, the Zombie. I mean, he's fought some of the top 5 guys in that division. I mean, Jung, Emmett, Qatar have been in that top 5 of that division, and Movsar could very well play himself into that by the year end here. So you look at Damon Jackson. I mean, that win last time out against Pat Sabatini was so emotional because I think the story was his brother passed away like the day before or whatever it may have been, and how he had found the kind of fortitude to go out there and fight the way he did and knock a guy out in Pat Sabatini, a tough guy. But when you look at the schedule of both these guys, it shouts out that Ige has fought the tougher guys. And I do think overall his skill set is just a bit better than what Damon Jackson's is. Damon Jackson really kind of struggled with Argueta a little bit, really took the back there, dominated with his positioning on the back against Argueta. I don't think he can do that predominantly in this fight here for large spots. I can maybe see a takedown here and there. But I think on the feet, Ige's the more polished guy, more power. I think he can mix up a little bit. I've kind of missed the best line on Dan Ige, which kind of sucks a little bit. I've been a little bit late to some fights. He was an underdog at one point. I would have loved to have got that. Now, he is minus 120 over here in the UK, and that's something that I can maybe still get behind. But I like Dan Ige here. I think he can knock out Damon Jackson, so I'm going to take Ige inside the distance. Main event of the night. Sean Strickland against Nassourdine Imavov at 205 pounds, light heavyweight division. After the middleweight bout between him and Gastelum kind of got pulled, and Strickland coming in here super short notice. I understand why this is at 205 here. I thought Sean Strickland was a little bit unlucky with that previous fight against Cannonier. Again, I had money on him. I kind of thought when I watched it fight live, I thought that Cannonier edged it, then I watched it back. I thought, I think Strickland edged it. So it's one of those close fights where you can't really be pissed off too much because it was a very, very, very close fight. Love the output of Strickland. Nothing really too heavy in there. It's kind of a part of our approach where he hits you with lots of strikes, can land a ton of significant strikes throughout the fight. But I'm interested just to see what he's been doing. He's obviously not been up to too much in the month that he's kind of not fought. I know he's been in the gym because he's a little bit crazy like that. He spars quite a lot. So I'm really interested to see his, but it's a different matchup for Imavov here because he's coming from a kind of short guy to a fairly tall guy, rangy. Again, super impressed with Imavov in France. He had a lot of pressure on him there. Thought the first few rounds came out there, really tried to put it on Buckley and did so. And Buckley came into it much to his much respect to him for coming into that third round, going for it, bringing the fight to Imavov there. But that was a big win for Imavov, in my opinion. Now he's getting himself a kind of guy that was in the top 5. He's in the top 10. So this is a big fight. It's over 5 rounds. He was preparing for those 5 rounds. So that's a little bit of feather in his cap. We've seen that Strickland can go those 5 rounds and can land a load of strikes over that 25 minutes. Really close fight. The bet that I have on here, and I still might bet Imavov straight up. It's a number that I like, but the number that I kind of like, I remember I mentioned that parlay earlier on, it was Basharat. I've got this fight to start round 3. So I think it was minus 108, the Basharat, and starts round 3 in the main event here. But as a pick, I like Nassourdine Imavov. I think that he's just going to do a little bit more over the 25 minutes. But again, this could be another one of these fights. It's kind of super close again. So maybe I don't really want to kind of get invested in that. Maybe just let the starts round 3 is enough for me to have. But as a pick, I'm going to pick Imavov. And we'll see where the line goes. If he was to hit a dog odds, I think I would be tempted by that, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm going to pick Nassourdine for the win there. What's up, guys? I see a few of you in the chat say Moy's audio. No PayPal issues. Absolutely. That was some shit over Christmas and New Year. I feel so sorry for the guys that haven't got their money. I seen today that Eduardo Gambles got paid, so that was good to see. But hopefully the rest of the guys get their money, because that was shocking to me to see that. I did not see that coming one bit. Hopefully he gets the help that he deserves. Hopefully he steps away and never really comes back, because I think that's he kind of screwed himself by doing that. Just hoping everyone gets paid though, and he gets the help that he needs. Good to see you back, Will. Hope all is well with the family. The family is great. I'm feeling a lot better. Health is a lot better, thankfully. Aussie MMA, hope you're well. Big Steve, legend, how are you? You're a legend yourself, my man. Tiger Bomb MMA, hope you're well. I'm glad to see you again, Saeed. So yeah, guys, if you've not already, please just throw a thumbs up. A little thing like that really helps me a lot. I'm really looking forward to getting back into week in, week out, getting these videos out. 10 years. I don't think there's many people that's been kicking around as long as I have on here. It's kind of crazy. I was actually, the first card that I broke down and put on YouTube was Demetrius Johnson against John Dodson, a way back in January 2013. So that's crazy. I think that was the Pettis and Donald Cerrone cards. So a long time, a lot of videos, a lot of time put in here. So guys, just help me out. Throw a thumbs up if you're, like I say, new to the channel. Subscribe. I'm going to be back Sunday night. Is going to be when I'm going to put my UFC 283 predictions out. I've been watching a lot of that kind of over Christmas, kind of more that, and I kind of forgot about this card in all honesty. But Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill, going to get a new champion at 205, and then we've got the fourth fight between Figgy and Moreno. So guys, much appreciate you sticking with me in here for the last 27 minutes. Until next time, until the weekend, enjoy the fights when they come round, and take care. All the best.